everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we're going to do the commentary / analysis for episode 10 of Miraculous Ladybug season 5 transmission. Now before I say anything else about how I felt about this episode, because I had some feelings, I'm about to spoil the whole thing for you, so if you haven't already seen it, I will try my best to find some links down below for you to go and watch. However, it's becoming increasingly difficult this season. They are really on it with copyright this season. It's becoming increasingly difficult to find places where you can watch them, so I will try my best, but I make no promises. And second of all, as always, haven't read the show Bible, haven't seen most of the leaks, and I would very much like to keep it that way, and a lot of people watch me because they also want to keep it that way. So if you don't mind, because in this video I'm going to be speculating mainly about the next episode, episode 11, speculating what's going to happen next, also about, in general, about Adrien and Marinette's relationship. So if you already know the answers to some of the questions I'm going to ask, great, good for you. I don't want to know, okay? I like waiting to know what happens. Yeah, I like making theories, I like talking to my friends what I think is going to happen, but I don't want to know the answer for sure until I see the episode, in whatever episode it happens in, okay? So if you read the show Bible, you already know the answers. I really appreciate it if you didn't tell everybody. Thank you. And also, you may have noticed I have decorated for Christmas. This is the tree. I know you can't see the top, but there is no star in the tree. Why? Because I'm the only star in this house and I'm far too big to fit on top of a tree. And I also put a Cat Noir's Santa hat back on him, so I hope you like the decorations. And if you're wondering, Hayes, are you freezing wearing that dress? I 100% am freezing, and I have a blanket, so if you wonder what the pink thing is at the bottom, it's my fluffy pink blanket. So, because I am cold. So cold. Right, so this episode. I enjoyed it more on my first watch through during the reaction video, which you'll see in a couple of days. I filmed one for you. 100% cried, not loads, like I wasn't like sobbing, like it was just like, I felt a couple of tears. Like they didn't really fall down my face, they were just like gathering, and I did have to stop filming so I could wipe them away and sort out my makeup. Someone did tell me not to wear makeup, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to anyway. But I didn't wear bottom lash mascara, which now, as she's staring at the tube of mascara sat on her desk, she realises she did not apply it to film this. It's okay, you probably couldn't even see my bottom eyelashes anyway, because they're so small. But anyway, so I really enjoyed it the first time round on my reaction video. Less enjoyment the second time around. And when I say enjoyment, I know this episode wasn't the most fun episode. It was definitely, at least where the Adrienette was concerned, bittersweet, and I thought all the Adrienette pretty much in the episode was done really, really well. I absolutely loved that about the episode. The crying, oh my god, it made me so sad, but I thought it was executed well. Obviously it didn't, like, I wasn't happy about it, obviously, but you know what I mean? Like, it was the same way with Strike Back. It was executed really well, but like, I preferred Risk because that was a more fun episode, whereas Strike Back was just, it made me depressed, you know what I mean? So it was good in the respect it was written well, but not good because of how it made me feel. But I've tried to, like, take the feeling out of it in order to review it or whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about. The Gabe Nath with Nathalie, oh my god, yes, Gabriel babes, he was on it this episode. I love the new holders. The two things I would say, because I'm actually going to give this episode a 7.5 out of 10. When I actually started this, I've crossed it out several times, you won't be able to see. It started as a 9 out of 10, then it went to 8.5, then it went to 8, then it went to 7.5. So as the episode went on and more things that I didn't think were great, as in terms of like the story and the plot and the structure of the episode, I was a bit like, and it kept going down. However though, I will say the part 1 and part 2s of Miraculous episodes are usually written more so as like a 40-minute episode that are just kind of split in half. They've got better at them being more standalone episodes. So for example, Catalyst and Mayura, all of Catalyst, pretty much really nothing happens in Catalyst other than it's being a setup for Mayura. Mayura wouldn't work on its own without what happens in Catalyst, but I'm never like, oh, let's just go and watch the episode Catalyst, because on its own it's not really enjoyable. You really need to watch Catalyst and Mayura together, but you could watch Mayura on its own because it holds on its own, whereas Catalyst doesn't. So they have got better at having the part 1 and part 2 being good standalone episodes. So I maybe possibly I'm going to be wrong with some of the things I'm going to say because it's missing the extra structure of the part 2 to it, because they kind of write it as one like big episode rather than 2 episodes that just kind of seem to go together, if that makes sense. So there were a couple of things I was just a bit like, okay. First of all, whilst I enjoyed seeing the new holders, I felt like it was kind of just like tacked into the episode. Like it was an afterthought. It kind of seemed like to me that maybe a different person, because of how jarring it was on the second watch through, it seemed to me that maybe even a different person had actually written the Akuma fight with Alia and Zoe. And they just kind of jammed it in there and was like, yeah, that works, when it kind of didn't really. And also I didn't really like how neither Adrien and Marinette, after getting the Miraculous taken from them, weren't upset for that long. I'm going to talk a bit more about that when we get to those parts of the episodes. But yeah, and also I didn't really feel like Zoe had enough screen time, personally. Like, you know, and also the Zoe reason, yeah. More to talk about as we go through. So, let's just go into it. That's just the quick analysis. I know I'm going to talk about more of the reasoning why. But anyway, let's get on with the episode. So Marinette, I felt so bad for her and Adrien the whole way through this episode, and how Tom was like, oh, she's not feeling well? I'll get her some pastries. Either when Sabine spoke to Marinette, just realised, oh, Marinette's not like, you know, physically ill, it's more like a mental health thing. She needs cheering up rather than like medication or rest or whatever, something like that. So maybe she realised that, but she didn't tell Tom that, and Tom was like, yeah, pastries. For all Tom knows, she could have been like dying, and Tom's like, shoe buns, let's get her some shoe buns. He's great. Honestly, Tom and Sabine were great this whole episode, but I always feel sad when Marinette is sad. I hate seeing her upset, and I genuinely thought this scene, like the sequence, was going to come towards the end of the episode, so it was very intriguing to see it come at the start, which was really, really interesting. I didn't think that at all, but oh, I just feel so bad for her. I didn't think, like, don't get me wrong, I know she was upset by the end of Elation, but I thought kind of like the end of Elation really put like a conclusion on her feelings for Cat Noir and what had happened and stuff, so I didn't expect them to bring it back up, and I don't think I hate it. I don't mind it, and I feel like that plays into the Kwame's reasoning a bit more, so yeah, I don't think I hate it. And again, also feel so bad for Adrien, like when he's walking to Marinette, it's like he knows he's upset her. Oh my god. No, well, I mean, like, yeah, you did, but like you were trying to save her feelings in the long run. Like, you didn't do it, like, you didn't upset her because you're like a mean and malicious and horrible person, you know what I mean? So I was a bit like, okay, but then the next sequence, oh my god. So it just opens with Sabine like, oh, someone's here to see us. Like, so then Marinette was like, oh, if it's Alia, tell her to go away. Like, I don't want her to catch my weakness or whatever. Then Adrian's like, oh, don't worry about it, I'm already weak. And I was like, is this a weird translation error that I just don't understand? But I was like, what? Why would you say that, Adrien? I love this whole scene, like he gave her space, like first so he was like sat underneath her at her desk, he couldn't even really see her, so that was great. And then I was kind of like, oh my god, is she gonna reveal her identity to him? And Plag and Tiki were like, don't do this, absolutely not, don't tell anyone. It was great. And then they were both like, well, no one could understand, and like, it's so hard because like we all obviously know the only other person who could possibly understand is the other person. Oh god. Calm down, Hayes. Okay, it's okay. It's just a kids' TV show. Is it though? Is it just the kids' TV show? Or has it become my whole life? You decide it's become my whole life. I don't need you to decide. It is my life. It's my entire life. Anyway. However, I have said in a few videos now that I just feel that the identity reveal, assuming it happens this season because I feel like it has to, isn't going to go well because it went pretty well initially in Cat Blanc, it went pretty well initially in Ephemeral, so third time's a charm, it has to go wrong. I just feel deep down it will. I feel like ultimately it'll be okay, but I feel at first it will be bad, and someone's asked me to make a video on it, and I will eventually when it's all stopped. I will make a video about it, but after this line, kind of part of me is like, maybe we'll be okay. Like, I do feel like it'll be okay eventually, like so in Cat Blanc and Ephemeral, things are okay immediately, but then they get bad because Adrien gets schematized both times, you know what I mean? Whereas for this time, I feel like it's going to go bad initially when they reveal their identities, but in the long run, it's going to be okay, you know what I mean? So I feel like once they've come to terms with it, that no one can understand, they realise, oh, actually, not only is this person literally my soulmate, they are literally the only other person currently alive who possibly could understand. So I'm like, okay. I want to be an optimist about it, but the show, Not always. Doesn't always let you be. So then Plag or whatever, maybe it was Cheeky, maybe both of them, I don't know, knocks over the bin. Adrien sees all the photos and he starts putting them back in even though he's sad. And then when he grips the bin, when he gets angry, hearing Marinette talk about herself like that. I have always wanted to see an angry Adrien, and I feel like he could get angrier, but I enjoyed that thoroughly. That was great. And then, oh, the bit when he's leaving, so he's like, what did he say? So it's like, I feel like we've missed out, and she's like, maybe. He's like, do we have a chance at a second chance? And she's like, no. The whole scene was beautifully done. I am dead, I am deceased. Yeah, it was great. Although that wasn't the scene I cried at, so yeah, but I do think it was a really well done scene. Did I hate every single second of it because it made me upset? Yes, but did I think it was executed beautifully? Also yes. So the next bit. Why is Zoe so concerned about Marinette? Don't get me wrong, I like Zoe. I know Marinette was like her first friend when she came to Paris. Cool beans. But it does seem a bit strange, like Zoe has literally done nothing else really this season. She's had a couple of lines here and there, she's been floating around here and there. This is really like the first thing she's done this season, I'm pretty sure. So it's just a bit like, okay. Like, I'm glad you were, but I felt like it came out of a bit of nowhere. Like, if Zoe was going to be so important to this episode, I feel like she maybe should have had a bit more of a role in the rest of the season, you know what I mean? Just my opinion. Like, for example, last season when Alia was going to be Scarabella, she was super duper prominent from Gang of Secrets onwards, helping Marinette out, and then by the time it got to Hackside episode 16, I felt like it was a reasonable time for her to have the Miraculous, whereas Zoe, I'm a bit like, and I'm not saying this because I dislike Zoe, I absolutely love Zoe, but like, I did feel like it came out a bit out of nowhere. I know a lot of people dislike Zoe and have been saying that, but I do actually have to agree with them. It did seem to come a bit out of nowhere. So Adrien leaves Marinette because there's nothing more he can say to her, and he apologises to her parents, and they just look heartbroken. They are like #1 Adrianette shippers in this damn show. If I was in the show, I would be Tom and Sabine collectively, because that's just who I am spiritually, okay? I am them spiritually. I think we all are in some degree Tom and Sabine spiritually. Okay, but then he goes home and he's like on his bed. But also, why were the class so certain? Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love their enthusiasm for the Adrianette shipping. Absolutely love it. But why were you so certain they got together? All Adrien did was go and give us some homework. That doesn't mean people get, like, is this like a code in France? Like, oh, if your male friend goes to give your female classmate some homework, that means they're going on a date tonight. No. Love the enthusiasm, but where was the correlation? Maybe as well you should wait for confirmation from one of them before you throw a party for it. I don't know. However, interestingly, we did find out in that scene, Adrien's been here for about 9 months. That puts the show at like May, June time, which is very interesting. I'm looking to start planning out a video, like plotting out the whole timeline of Miraculous so far. So that was very helpful. Thank you very much, Max. You did a great job. So now let's talk about the Gabe Nath. So Natalie's really concerned about Adrien. She answers the phone to Nina. He's like, oh, he's just tired. Like, I don't think he wants you to know the real reason why he's not coming back or whatever. Like, love Natalie. But then Natalie's like, you're not coming in. I know you're going to be rude to him. I know you're going to do something. Like, you always have an ulterior motive. You can never do anything, you know, straight or whatever. Like, great. But then he's like, I'm just concerned for him after I tried to akumatize him. And when I was watching that scene, like when he was about to akumatize Adrien, I was like, oh, it's Adrien. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Then he went to go and see Adrien, and then he gave him the ring, and I was like, okay, that's fair reasoning for giving him the alliance ring. Then he had a bit like that evil look on his face as he left the room, and I was like, what are you up to? And then he was obviously going to take advantage of how Adrien was feeling and also give him a power. You know. So yeah, I mean, I expected nothing less of him, and I guess it goes to show. So, oh gosh, what episode was it last season? I think it was Glaciator 2, wasn't it? Where he goes to akumatize Adrien, and then like, oh, he's like, better not. And then they have a talk, and Adrien's like, oh, I know you don't care. And nothing really happens, but it shows just how much Gabriel's character has changed between Glaciator 2 and now, where he was like, yeah, I'm gonna have a talk with you, but then I'm not gonna try and akumatize you again later. Oh, choose someone else, because we're not about akumatizing our own children in this household. But then he was like, I'm gonna put this ring on you so I can make you even more powerful and akumatize you. What a great dad! But you know, like I said, it shows the progression of Gabriel and like how crazy he's getting, really. So the next scene is a scene I cried at. It was the Kwame scene. And like I said, like I didn't expect the episode to open with that scene they did, the one in the dark. I thought that was going to be towards the end of the episode. But I'm really glad they did open with that scene, because it really puts a lot behind Plag and Tiki's reasoning. I really thought the episode was going to open around Plag and Tiki's reasoning. And whilst after the events of episodes like Elation and Jubilation, their chat would still make sense, but having the chat happen after the opening of this episode made it a lot more powerful, seeing how much more Adrien and Marinette got upset over not being able to be together because of Ladybug and Cat Noir, but not knowing that about the other person. So this scene definitely packed more of a punch because of that, because like all this time I've been saying, I'm like, Plag and Tiki better have a bloody good reason for doing this. And they did have a bloody good reason for doing it. So I was like, okay, so I was pretty satisfied with that. And watching them having to take the Miraculouses off them was very upsetting. However, I did feel like Plag's dialogue in this ruined what was like a really moving sequence. All the bits between Tiki and Marinette, well done. And most of the stuff between Adrien and Plag, well done. But like at the end where he's like, oh, I'll know you'll miss me, or I'll know you'll think about whatever it is that he said, like the parallel to what Marinette said to Tiki, just really took me out of the scene. So I really didn't like that much about it, and part of me was kind of thinking, well, it was a very sad scene, I obviously cried a bit, did we maybe need some humour injected into it? And part of me is like, yeah, maybe. However, the fight with Alia and Zoe I felt was like, that wasn't emotional really in any way. They were having fun, they were having a great time as they got to work together as teams, plus as well straight after this scene pretty much we get more Adrienne. So I was a bit like, I'm not really sure Plag's kind of like comedy relief was needed in that scene, and in a way I really did feel like it kind of ruined it actually. I wish Plag had been a bit more serious, and we know he can be. So like, I mean, he's the one who basically comes up with the idea of sadly having to take the Miraculous off of them. So yeah, I did kind of feel like Plag's dialogue in that scene kind of ruined the emotional aspects to it, because after that the rest of the episode was fairly happy and fun, so they didn't really need comic relief in that scene, I don't think. Kind of like the first half of this episode was quite sad, and then it all kind of redeemed itself in terms of feelings, so the viewer didn't come away feeling completely depressed because the rest of it wasn't as depressing basically. So I just don't feel like it was needed with Plag. And another thing I didn't like was how Adrien was absolutely fine immediately, and the same with Marinette, because like as Max has said, they've been at school for like 9 months now. They have both been Ladybug and Cat Noir for 9 months, almost a year. And after everything that's happened, having those Miraculouses taken from them, no matter what the reason is, would be a huge blow. If they'd only been Ladybug and Cat Noir for 2 weeks, could I see this reaction being more plausible? Yes. But for that length of time? No. So what I kind of wish had happened, because like I said, I really feel like this Akuma fight was an afterthought. I didn't really feel like it fit this episode at all, and I also didn't really think it was a good Akuma fight either. Is I kind of actually wish that Adrien had been akumatized, because the only reason, in my opinion, that Adrien and Marinette feel fine pretty much right after Tiki and Plag leave is so Adrien wouldn't get akumatized and we have the Adrienne in the rest of the episode. And don't get me wrong, the Adrienne in the rest of the episode was wonderful. As you know, I love Adrienne, my favourite ship in the show, so I enjoyed those moments. I'm not saying this because I didn't enjoy those moments, but I actually feel like maybe it would have been actually really cool if, with the alliance ring on, Adrien had been akumatized, and the reason he's akumatized is because of Marinette, and Alia and Zoe have to save him, and he's going for Marinette, and by the end of the episode Marinette and Adrien realise their feelings for each other because of the akuma, and they try to be together. I feel like that would have been so much more powerful, that Adrien gets akumatized the moment he doesn't have his Miraculous because of what's happened with Plag and what's happened with Marinette. And that he, you know, like how often the akuma victim will go for the person who's hurt them, like Zoe does to Chloe in Soul Crusher for example, but he goes to Marinette because he wants to be with her, and Alia and Zoe have to save him, and then at the end of it him and Marinette can have a proper chat about their feelings. I felt that would have fit the themes of this episode so much more, you know? So, yeah, I just felt like it would have fit so much more. It would have really helped a bit more with the structure. But again, I don't want to go in too much on the structure because I feel like they structured it more as like a 45 minute episode meant to be watched all together, part 1 and part 2 together, you know, rather than a standalone episode, which most of them are, you know. So, but I just feel that would have been a lot more powerful for this episode rather than someone we don't even know. He was a brand new character. Although I did low-key ship him with Nora. I think they're kind of cute together. I'm sorry, I just see people on screen and I'm like, you two? You'd be cute. You should go on a date. So, yeah, I just felt that would have been really cool, actually, and get to see Adrien be akumatized without there being world-ending consequences, because every time that boy is sad, world ends. God's sake, Adrien, get your emotions in check. However, that didn't happen, so we've got to review what did happen, and I absolutely loved the scene when Adrien comes over with the hands. As someone who has autism and anxiety, I actually have 5 different types of anxiety diagnoses because that's how anxious I am. I know I seem very confident on camera, and I know a lot of you say like, oh well, it always seems like you're talking to us and besties. I am absolutely thrilled that it feels like I'm having a conversation with you, and honestly I'm pretty happy with myself that it feels like that. However, I have been practicing talking to myself my entire life. My mum told me yesterday, because I was talking to myself again without the camera on, I was just doing it. I have been talking to myself as soon as I could learn how to talk. I have always talked to myself, so I've had like a solid 24 years of practice. Like, I'm 26, I've been talking for a while, so I've had a pretty good practice at talking to myself. She also said it used to scare her, so, but anyway. So I have a lot of anxiety, and I probably in my life have spoken to myself more than anyone else I have ever met, including my mum. So that's great. So I have a lot of anxiety, which is great. So whilst I'm very, very happy, you probably all think I'm a super duper confident person, around people I especially don't know, and also around people I have feelings for, I am like a clam. I will not open my mouth. And I'm like, I am also autistic, that doesn't help either. So I'm just like, no, I don't want to, like, yeah, I like you, but I'm not gonna talk to you. Because no, like, even with the guy I like, we don't even really talk face to face. We talk over text. I am still too anxious to reply to him, and I have to get my friends to help me text him. I know the kind of thing I want to say, but I just can't put it down into words, and they have to help me to the point where I'm like, should I put this emoji? That's how anxious I get around someone I have feelings for, okay? I'm like, is this emoji too much? So like the other night they were like, maybe it is too much, and the other friend was like, no, just do it, and I was like, okay. So I get super duper anxious. So the fact that Adrien was so understanding of that and was like, well, we can do this without words, raise your hands, and then Marinette got them mixed up, I was like, all Adrien Agreste does is continually raise my expectations to men up until the point where I'm just not going to be able to date anyone ever, because first of all I'm too anxious to do it anyway, and second of all because of this. So that was absolutely amazing. As someone with anxiety, a lot of anxiety, I really appreciated it. Like I said, I know it seems like I'm super confident because I'm able to talk like this to a camera, and I know it seems like I'm having a conversation with you all, but I am very anxious in real life. So I am the most confident when I am alone. So yeah. And then the scene kind of ends with Adrien saying like, would you like to spend more time with me? Oh, it was oh my, yes, so good. But then the class are like, oh, we need to come up with a plan to get them together. Like, just leave them alone. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. Do some homework. I don't know. Just leave them alone. I swear to God. So then Tiki and Plag are trying to pick their new holders, and Tiki's like, yep, that's Alia. I feel safe with her. I know I can trust her. Let's go, let's go, let's Alia. But then Plag's like, oh, that girl, she spoke. I will go for her. Like, I know Plag doesn't have, you know, the best reasoning ever, like he can be a little bit silly at times, but for something as important as this, you would have thought he'd put some more thought into it, but apparently not. And I absolutely love how he just kind of threw it at her and then was waiting at the top of the metro steps. It looked like, oh, there's that meme of like a clown peeking out of the sewers. Same image, same image. It was hilarious. Although if I had been Zoe, I mean, first of all, if that had happened to me, I have bad eyesight, so I'd be like, what's that? I wouldn't even be able to tell what it was, and I'd probably not even see the ring and just walk on. Plag would have to literally, like how Tiki gave it to Alia in the bathrooms, have to like come in front of me and give it me. So, yeah. So now let's talk a bit about the Akuma fight. Why on earth that man had 5 alliance rings? To my knowledge, they all do the same thing. It'd be like if I had 5 iPhones, I'm like, alright, so I use this iPhone for YouTube stuff, I'll use this one for watching YouTube videos, I use this one for playing games, I use this one for taking like, what's the... Why do you need 5? Like, yeah, cool for the episode that he got to use these different powers. So I think he had the mouse, the ox, because Zoe wasn't able to break through, the turtle, the horse, and the tiger, or was it the bee? I'm not really sure. I think it was tiger since it destroyed stuff. That's what I think the 5 were. I don't know. I'm not sure. But anyway, so like, why would you have 5's rings? Okay, and I absolutely loved during the Akuma fights how Adrien and Marinette were up on the balcony together, kind of cuddled against each other as they watched. Beautiful. And I will just touch briefly on Zoe's outfit. I am going to do a full video for it, yes. Yes, I know I've got a load of other videos to make. I know, but I will do like a dedicated one for Zoe. And honestly, I don't think the outfit is that bad. It's the lips, the lipstick, and the hair. If we just got rid of it from up here. I think it looks quite cool actually. I'd wear that, to be honest. I'm going to do like a full video on it, but just like quick thoughts on the outfit. It's the face. It's the face that's throwing me. But the actual like the clothing items aren't too bad. So yeah, the Akuma fight was fine. It wasn't the worst Akuma fight in the show, and I understand they didn't probably put as much effort into it because the episode was more focused on Adrienne, but I do kind of wish they had put more effort into it because it was someone else getting to use the Cat Miraculous, someone completely new. And like I said, I just feel like it was an afterthought. Like if it maybe had been someone, like I know the only people who've used the Cat Miraculous in the show, well apart from Gabriel, but he doesn't remember that, are Adrien and Marinette in the show. They're the only ones who've used it. So I didn't mind them not focusing so much on Alia because she got a whole episode dedicated to her last season when she got to use it with Haxam. But I didn't really feel that Zoe was afforded the same treatment, I guess. I'm not sure if treatment's the right word here. But you know what I mean? Like, they definitely weren't on par. If we compare the attention Alia got in Haxan and the attention Zoe got in Transmission. Like Alia in Haxan's up here, Zoe in Transmission's down here in terms of how they were treated. Don't get me wrong, I prefer Alia to Zoe, so I'm really glad Alia got that in Haxan, but also at the same time I'm like, if we're gonna have a new cat holder, why wasn't there a bit more emphasis on it? Of course I'm saying that without knowing what happens in the next episode, so maybe I'm completely wrong, but I just feel like Zoe first of all needed a bit more presence before this episode in order to be like worthy of the Cat Miraculous. Also the reasoning was just absolutely bizarre in that there was no reasoning really from Plag that we know of yet. And also during the fight, she was just kind of there. I know she did some stuff, but I just don't feel like it was executed very well. The plan to solve it all was very strange, and also on that, now I rewatched part of Mega Leech before I sat down to film this, and in Mega Leech they have to destroy, hence why they get Polymouse, they have to destroy every single Akuma, right? So isn't this the same? I know this is a bit different in that it was the Amuk of Mega Leech that allowed Maledictator to multiply, and this was a Miraculous of Multiplication that allowed the Akuma villain, whose name I'm not even sure, is like Bibu or something? I'm not sure. It was the Mouse Miraculous that allowed him to multiply, so maybe the Mouse Miraculous can't multiply the Akuma. Maybe only an Amuk can multiply an Akuma, but I was just a bit like, shouldn't you have had to get it from all 3 of them? Not really sure on that. So maybe it's just because of the difference in how it was done, maybe it doesn't apply to Miraculous Multiplication. In that case, forget I said anything. Right now I'm a bit like, yeah, so I just feel like it was a bit of an afterthought and just kind of added into the episode. I didn't really feel like Zoe got enough screen time. Most of it was like kind of silent and done in montage, which I know they do pretty often, but we see Ladybug and Catmore all the time, so I don't mind. But for Zoe's first outing with the Cat Miraculous, I thought it was poorly done and done as an afterthought, and I still feel it would be more powerful to have Adrien have got akumatized and it may be ending with some really sweet Adrien. Just my opinion, but yeah, I didn't particularly enjoy the Akuma fight. It is often my least favourite part of each episode. I'm always there for the bits before and the bits afterwards. Usually the Akuma fight is just a bit like, eh, to me. Like, if you've been here for any length of time, you know I'm not the biggest fan of superhero stuff. I do largely watch the show for the story elements with Gabriel and also the love square moments and the other pairings. Not so much the Akuma fights. They often are my least favourite parts of the episodes, but they are usually executed much better than this. I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong, but maybe you'll disagree with me, and it's fine if you do disagree with me, but I really want to know your thoughts on it, because especially for a brand new cat holder, I just felt like it was just kind of like shoved in there like a throwaway thing. I don't feel like it was executed very well. It was fine. I was really excited to see some good, solid teamwork between Alia and Zoe. And whilst they did work well together, I just don't feel like it was done very well. Like, so, you know, for example, in Origins, you do kind of get to see how Ladybug and Cat Noir work out how to work with each other at first, you know, and I understand there probably wasn't time for that in this episode, but because there wasn't time for it, it came off as basically kind of being fake and like forced. And I know Zoe's been on the Miraculous team before. This is not her first time ever using a Miraculous, so it's not like a complete newbie, but yeah, I don't know. I just can't shake the feeling that it just doesn't fit right. The Adrienne was adorable and around it and stuff, and I love that about it, but just, yeah, maybe something groundbreaking is going to happen in the next episode to make me like it a bit more, and it would like fill in the structure and relationships a bit more. But right now I'm just a bit like, no, I'm not vibing with it. Something's off. I do really feel like it would have been more powerful to leave Marinette and Adrien upset, have Adrien get akumatized with or without the alliance ring on, and have Alia and Zoe have to save him, someone they know. Like, Alia and Zoe don't know this bloke, nor is Noid or whatever, and they also have to protect Marinette, and the episode would end with some cute Adrienne of them finally sitting down to talk or use hand signals to talk about their feelings for each other. Obviously I'm saying that without knowing what happens in the next episode, but like, for such a big episode, they get the Miraculouses taken off them, and kind of Adrienne, in a way, kind of start the process of getting together and being with each other. And we got such a weak Akuma villain, plus a brand new cat holder who didn't get very much screen time, and we also literally found out zero reasoning for why she got given it. Anyway, however, the ending of this episode, oh my god, yes. Because I was kind of thinking Alia and Zoe both wear an alliance ring, and then obviously Gabriel Babes transforms, and his AI of Emily, how on earth he got that, I don't know. He just got her out of a fridge in the murder basement to give her a quick scan, I don't know. I don't know how it worked. But yes, absolutely love it. He's using his brain for once, yes. Thank you, Gabriel Babes. Plus as well, I didn't feel like he was suspicious enough in Haxan. Like, if I was him and there was a new Ladybug holder, I'd have been mega suspicious, and he was like, alright then. No challenge, Essie, let's go. He just didn't seem to care. So I'm glad he cares this time, and I am excited for the next episode. So yeah, 7.5 out of 10 overall. So I don't obviously think it was a terrible episode. We've had much worse episodes of the show. But yeah, I just felt like the Akuma fight was an afterthought. I didn't feel like Plag's humour was needed in the giving up the Miraculous scenes. It really took me out of it in that whole sequence. Like, I was crying, and then Plag was like, hey, it's alright, and I was like, no, Plag, it's not, you've ruined it. Yeah. The Zoe stuff needed a lot of work still, and yeah, the whole Akuma fight just seemed like a bit of an afterthought to me. It wasn't the worst Akuma fight I've ever seen in the show, but it was just a bit like... Yeah, however, I would give the MVP to Adrien. He was amazing in this episode. Maybe it's just because I have a lot of anxiety, but I was like, Adrien Grest, you are doing the Lord's work in keeping me out of a relationship. Because you are literally perfect. Like, I mean, I started watching the show when I was 21, so I know a lot of you have grown up with it. I used to have a crush on Adrien maybe when you were younger, so obviously as a 21-year-old woman I have never had a crush on a 14-year-old fictional character because I was 21. However, I have always appreciated Adrien for how absolutely wonderful he is, and despite the age discrepancy between us, I have always appreciated how he is with pretty much everyone in the show. The only time I was a bit like, that's not good, is basically when he let Kagami on. I don't like Kagami, but I don't think you should lead people on whether you like them or not. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the episodes, besties. I just hit my elbow. Ow, that hurt. So I think I want to know your thoughts. First of all, Zoe's outfit. Now we've seen the full thing in action. Thoughts? I of course will do a full video dedicated to that very, very soon. When? I don't know. It's Christmas soon. And I have a Korean test this week and I have PhD supervision this week and everything's happening all at once. And also your thoughts on the Akuma fight. Like, I absolutely love the Adrien in this episode. The Adrien pretty much all the way through was pretty much executed to perfection. Loved it. But I just really feel like the Akuma fight came off as an afterthought. Maybe that's because we got a brand new cat holder. If Zoe had used the cat Miraculous before, perhaps I wouldn't be feeling this way, but because she hadn't, it was a brand new holder, and usually when we get a brand new holder, they get like an episode dedicated to themselves, as we see all the time with like, so we had Mega Leech for Polymouse, Crocodile for Purple Tigress, Guilt Trip for Pigella, Queen Banana for Vesperia, Party Crasher for King Monkey, sorry I forgot, Star Train for Pegasus, Ikari Gozen for Ryuku, and Desperada for Aspect, just to name a few, you know what I mean? And the others for Rena Rouge, Carapace and Queen Bee or whatever. That's usually how it goes, so I was a bit like, like, and the same happened with Alia for Haxan. So maybe that's playing into it a little bit, and maybe also because it's meant to be watched together as 2 parts is also playing into it. Like right now it does kind of feel slightly that I've literally watched half of an episode and then sat down to review it without seeing the ending, basically. But yeah, I feel like they're getting better at executing part 1s and part 2s, so they're kind of a bit more standalone, because I do feel as it stands right now you could watch this episode on its own without having to follow up immediately with the other one, you know? So yeah, I just felt like it was an afterthought and just didn't really fit the episode. I feel like it would be much more powerful if Adrien had got akumatized. But of course, that is all my opinion. If you disagree with me, that is completely fine. Besties don't always agree with each other, but besties always respect each other's opinions. If you love the Akuma fight, then I'm dead happy for you. Please tell me what you liked about it, why you thought it was good. Try and convince me. But yeah, right now, MVP was Adrien. Standout scenes were all the Adrien in the episode. The Adrien, chef's kiss perfection, was golden. Absolutely loved it. So I'd love to know what you think, besties, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!